Thank you very much, Cahirlock, and very much welcome to Dr. Paddy Prendergast here from Trinity and to all the members of the IUA. And of course to our very own Professor Kieran O'Corthick. Great to see you, and I suppose very close to home, my own college, and I suppose where I would have worked before moving to this new role here in the Oireachtas. I suppose I'd like to note as well that NUI Galway is the first mindfulness university in Ireland, which I think is very important in this time of COVID and the challenges that we're facing. And I know that a lot of other universities will be taking on board a lot of points from that as well. I want to pay tribute to the teaching, academic and research staff who've kept going throughout, and to everyone who's volunteered, and particularly on your behalf on the public service in epidemiology, NIFIT and medtech research. I suppose I would be very familiar with that, and particularly with the colleges of medicine, nursing and health sciences and the people within those colleges that have given and volunteered, I think, with the HSE. Just my questions in relation to what we're talking about here: admissions, reopening and delivery of courses. Fantastic that QQI has vindicated that you've delivered the courses. From a student's perspective, a key goal for universities is the high quality student experience. Question, I suppose, is the student voice. Is that been heard, and have surveys have been conducted? I think Professor O'Corthick, you spoke that you had feedback from students. And then how do you think we might open a limited on-campus experience, potentially next year, with these levels that we're dealing with, living with COVID? Secondly, just in funding, yes, urgently required ever before COVID-19 happened. The IUA, you stated that there's a shortfall of over 102 million. In terms of income streams, I suppose from working in a research office, I'm very much looking at maybe the income coming in from researchers, from funding programmes, like at European level, the ERC, Horizon 2020, particularly from national funding programmes. Will that also continue? And perhaps if any other members would like to come in on that. In terms of future reforms, very happy to hear from Minister Harris as well that there will be a commitment to give a report and an update early next year. Coming from working as a contract researcher and in university, I very much understand that there is huge issues. Thankfully we had such a fantastic international student experience, but core funding has fallen, the numbers have increased since the economic crash. I suppose just that there is a commitment there, and I suppose if I could just ask those questions. Thank you very much to all.
Thank you. We're fortunate that we have with us Dr. Lisa Keating, who's the Director of Research in the Irish Universities Association, and I'm sure she could begin our reply to the Senator with, on the research issues.
Yes, just to say, obviously it's quite clear throughout the pandemic the role that research and innovation has played, from the services that have been provided to the expertise and the networks across global. So it's really, really key. The challenge that we do face is in terms of the investment that is going into research. So we are still one of the lowest in terms of OECD countries in terms of the amount that we invest in higher education research. It's only 0.34% of GDP that goes into higher education research. That's been declining since 0.5. So, excuse me?
EU average is what, 1.5, is it?
Yes.
1.5, yeah.
So we're declining quite a lot. And even if, you can debate over GDP or GNP, but even if you look at the proportion of government spend overall that is directed towards higher education research, which is effectively public research, that has been decreasing over time, and again it's below 1% of the overall amount. So I think that's a really, really key area. The other thing that's important to note is that while there has been so much work in terms of COVID, not only on the science and technology, but as we've mentioned, the social science, the behavioural science, which is key, there's also been an awful lot of the money directed there. So in the absence of new money, it will be difficult then for all of the other important areas of research to also survive and to thrive, because this is the current societal challenge that we face, but there are many more coming down the line. And if we don't continue to invest across the broad range of areas, that will be key, particularly when so much of the investment is going into COVID research. There's a paper today in Nature about it.
Thank you. And just about, I'd follow on the student experience.
Professor, do you want to come in there on that?
Yes, just on the student experience, I think that's a really important question, and we've done surveys, as other universities have, both in the spring and in the autumn, around the student experience, and what we're finding is challenges not so much around finances, but more around the experience itself and the sense of disconnectedness and increased wishing to belong, if you like, and that's something we're working on as a priority, and again thinking about the second semester, how we might do more. We do have student voice, very strong student voices, as other universities have, on academic council our next governing authority, which is going to be formed in 2021, will have more student representation, something we were very keen to have. So I think the student voice is very important in the context of how we define our response, and we're engaging with students on an ongoing basis in that context.
Thank you very much, Professor. I will now go ahead, Dr. Ian.
Chair, and I would like to add what Kieran has said. The student voice is extremely important, and it is loud and clear and well heard in all Irish universities. I wouldn't say it's that same way around the world, but it is very loud and well heard here. And I want to pick up on your final point on future reforms. We now have a Department of Higher Education and Research, so for the first time these two things are brought into the same person's head, and this is going to make a big difference. And the future reforms that will come in the coming year with the new HEA Act and potential new governance for universities should make sure that universities are not seen as just teaching outfits. They're seen as important parts of the research infrastructure and innovation infrastructure of the state. And the two things can work together if we get it right.
Very much agree with you.
Thank you very much for
Society as
that.
a whole. Thank you.
I move